Good evening. Looks like we beat the storm. So grateful this is tonight, right? Women Who Tech, hello women, all your fabulousness. I was talking with someone in the ladies' room, I think she's right around here in the front row, about how she introduces herself and what she does. I wish I had such a fabulous role. I'm Steph Hoffman, and my day job at Google is to lead business development for one of our agency holding companies. That's my day job. My passion, my night job, my weekend job is to really support women and young girls and advancing them in their dreams and their careers, most specifically, though, in entrepreneurship and girls in STEM. So it is a great pleasure to be with all of you tonight. In behalf of Google, I want to thank Allison and most of all Craig for bringing us this opportunity to, again, second year in a row, sponsor this event. We're super proud to be part of this, and as you read the latest numbers, critically important, not only for women, but for our economy and our future. The latest stat, and I think Allison's going to talk about it in a few minutes, if anyone saw the feature on Craig and Allison in recent Inc. magazine, VCs are funding women-led startups at a rate of 1.9%. These numbers are going not in the right direction. And if Time's Up hadn't already been used for other reasons, I think we'd say Time's Up. Something has to change, right? So again, we are thrilled as Google to be a sponsor, to be a supporter. We believe deeply in everything that is happening here tonight and want to celebrate and congratulate the 10 finalists that you'll all hear from. We're super excited to hear their work and to see them represent all that can be great about women-led startups. So thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Allison and Justin, who are going to come up and talk a little bit more about tonight's event. Thank you.
Hi, how's everyone doing tonight?
I just realized we didn't give Stephanie her hoodie. Oh, yeah. We have a gift for you, Stephanie. You snuck away before we kick things off. Okay. And then also I wanted to recognize Jason Leader, who is our other partner here at Google and has been so instrumental in helping us with all of our logistics for putting on this amazing night. And I'd love to give them a big round of applause. Awesome. So before we kick things off, I think that we need a clicker up here. Oh, you have the clicker. Leah. They gave it to us. All right. Yes. So I'm going to introduce myself. I am Allison Capon. I am the co-founder, actually the founder of Women Who Tech, and I'm going to have Justin introduce herself.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Women Startup Challenge. Is my mic working?
Yeah, it's working perfectly.
I am Justin Hintz, and I am the director of Women Who Tech, and work closely with Allison on making our 6th Women Startup Challenge happen, and this will be our 2nd at Google.
Awesome. So, yeah, I just want to welcome you all here tonight. It's an incredibly packed room. We're just so excited to have everyone here. And tonight you are going to watch 10 amazing women-led startups who we think really have the vision and the products to make a radical difference in this world. But before we introduce you to these amazing women founders, I want to tell you why we first started the Women Startup Challenge. So here's the problem that Stephanie had mentioned. Only 1.9% of VC funding goes to women-led startups, and that is a stat from 2017. So we are not making much progress. That is a number that is just barely budging in the last 10 to 15 years. And for women of color, it is far more dismal. Only about 0.2% of VC funding goes to women of color. And when women founders finally get those meetings with investors, 45% of women that we surveyed last summer are harassed, and 65% of women founders who are harassed are sexually propositioned for sex in exchange for funding, which is absolutely unacceptable. And when we take a look at this data and we hear these stories, it just often feels that we are fighting this uphill battle, despite the business case that's showing that women-led tech companies are 15% more likely to outperform men, and racially diverse companies are 35% likely to outperform. So what are we doing? We want to do power differently, and Women Who Tech is on a mission to change that. And we want to break through that meritocracy of who gets funding. And we want to disrupt a culture, an economy that's made it so difficult for women entrepreneurs to raise capital. And we've already built a pipeline of over 2,000 women-led startups with 40% women of color through our Women Startup Challenges. And our finalists have collectively raised over $20 million since we launched the program 3 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Proving our track record to help women founders raise capital. So in addition to our current work hosting these startup challenges across the US and Europe, we are also planning to scale our program. We're launching a virtual accelerator that's putting capital, mentoring, and resources behind women founders who we know are creating very, very innovative tech companies, but they're often overlooked by investors. We're also working on a Fund Female Founders Pledge to urge investors and LPs to diversify their portfolios. And we're taking Reid Hoffman's diversity pledge and radically expanding that by getting investors to step up and put their money where their mouth is. And we're also launching the Women Startup Challenge podcast. We're going to replicate exactly what we're doing here tonight, but we're going to do that podcast style so that we can reach more women founders. So, all the work that we do is not possible without a few key allies and supporters. And one of those is here with us tonight, which is Craig Newmark. Craig, would you like to come up? So Craig has been with us from the very, very beginning, and Craig Newmark Philanthropies. He has been one of our biggest allies and partners. And Craig, we can't thank you enough for all of your incredible support. And we have a little gift for you. It is a Women Who Tech hoodie, because he already has our t-shirts. And we know he loves hoodies. So yeah, Craig, if you'd like to say a few words, we would love that.
Allison, thanks. And folks, Allison and Justin are giving me way too much credit for this. It really should go all to Allison and Justin and Google for making things happy. They remind me that in our industry, that things just don't work as well or as fairly as they should. We should all treat people like we want to be treated. And even I'm an old school nerd. I'm blasé or oblivious to a great deal, but even I can see that we don't treat a lot of people fairly. This is one step in that direction, which I think is a really big deal. The idea is to contribute towards a new normal where things are more fair for everyone. Sure, life isn't fair, but we can make it better. To that end, for me personally, this is the night of too many Women in Technology events. I'm now about to head to the fundraiser for Girls Who Code. So that's why you're about to see me disappear very quickly. Thanks, Google, Allison, and Justin.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you so much, Craig. We really couldn't do it without you. So we also couldn't do it without our extraordinary partner, Google. You heard from Stephanie Reddish Hoffman in the beginning, and her and Jason really have helped to make this possible. And they've been really great allies. This is our second time hosting at Google. And not only have they hosted the Women's Startup Challenge, but they are also donating $280,000 in cloud credits to some of the finalists, which you will find out more later tonight. And that's news for some of our finalists as well. And they're also hosting the finalists for investor networking tomorrow. So that's really fantastic that they have done all of this and really partnered with us to make this happen. So if we could get another huge round of applause for Jason, Stephanie, and Google. So Craig Newmark and Google aren't our only sponsors, and they are not the only way that we make this happen. We actually have an awesome group of sponsors. We have Blanc & Otis. A really big shout out to Taylor Phillips, who's here tonight from San Francisco. They're our PR team. The law firm Clifford Chance. We have Anna Schammer here tonight. Woo! PR firm SSPR. Their CEO Heather Kelly and integration coordinator Julie Solomon is here. So huge thank you. Co-working space The Yard. Our web firm, Brad Campaign, our pitch coach, who has worked with each of the startups on their pitches and helped them prepare for tonight, Donna Griffith, corporate storyteller. We have branding firm V3 Broadsuite, law firm Shepherd Mullen, and SEO expert Dustin Woodward. So can we please get an enormous round of applause for these amazing sponsors? Really, through their work, they're fighting right alongside us to help really close the gender gap in tech for women founders. So thank you. So I'm really excited to, before I get to housekeeping, introduce tonight's judges, who are an integral part of this event and who without them, this event would not happen. So we have Yana Demkova, Director of Healthcare and Investing at GE Ventures. We have John Asen, who has identified himself as the most prolific angel investor in New York City, and he's done deals with more than 80 companies and has more than 20 female founders. And his daughter is also an investor, and she has been awarded for being one of the best investors at the Hunter Mountain Ski Resort. We also have Erica Daigan Minahan, founder and managing partner of 1,000 Angels. And Hayden Williams, principal at BBG Ventures. Can we please have another big round of applause for tonight's judges? And then I have a little bit of housekeeping tonight, and this is getting more to some of the fun bits and explanation of how tonight's going to work. So each of the startups have prepared their pitches for you tonight, and they'll come up on stage. They have 4 minutes to pitch, and then they'll have 4 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Unfortunately, that means we will not be accepting any audience questions, despite questions yelled out by previous audiences. And then the judges will take some time once each of the 10 startups have pitched, and they will deliberate and award a grand prize of $50,000 cash grant at the end of the evening, as well as some additional prizes that we have from some of our extraordinary sponsors. And that includes the $280,000 in cloud services from Google, and then some other pro bono services. Also, we need your help tonight. So we have trended on Twitter every single startup challenge we've had thus far. So that's 5 startup challenges we've trended on Twitter, and we cannot fall behind on this one. So that being said, please use your phones, your laptops, whatever it is that you have, and live tweet along with the startup challenge using the hashtag Women's Startup Challenge. Also, that being said, please make sure that all of your cell phones are on silent, because we don't want it to distract any of the startups during their pitch. What's up? There we go. Okay, so other exciting news where we'll need your help. At the very end of the pitch, we are going to have an Audience Choice Award. So we will have this screen up again at the end, but if you want to really quickly jot down the link, it's bit.ly/WWT 2018, and that will take you to a survey where you will select one of the 10 finalists and vote for your favorite. You can only vote one time. We'll be watching. And they will receive an award at the end of the evening as well. And now I'm very excited to introduce our first startup, Astral AR. We have Leah Lasala. And Leah, once you come up here, if you could just wait 1 second, I'll give you the sign and start timing.
Got this, Leah. Huge round of applause for Leah and Astral AR.
What am I doing now? Oh, wait, that. Am I? Can y'all hear me? Can you? Wow, I can hear me. I sound weird. Okay, great, awesome. Hi, I'm Leah Lasala. I'm the CEO and technical founder of Astral AR, and we build the world's most advanced drones. How do I work this thing? Yeah, so we build drones that stop bullets, y'all. Not even kidding. Yeah, okay, so you're wondering, all right, how do we do this? Right, the drones are bulletproof. They're armored. Bullets pulverize on impact. Yeah, so we've developed an onboard AI, sensor fusion performed directly on the drone. We can see guns and bombs through walls. Yeah, we can tell a fake gun from a real gun. We can tell a loaded gun from an unloaded gun. If a gun is brought into play, active shooter protocol. The drone will autonomously move to get in the way and stay in the way. They exist to catch bullets, y'all. That's literally what they're for. A gun in play, the drones assess threat escalation by proximity of a hand to a gun. We call this predictive probable cause. We sell this to the cops. Yeah, situational awareness. So how do we do it? The business answer to that? Yeah, we provide law enforcement with situational awareness. Seeing guns through walls or in a glove box, yeah, the cop knows what he's getting into before he even gets out of the car. Yeah, we just made stop and frisk obsolete. No need for lethal force, de-escalation is what we do. Well, Congress, thoughts and prayers over gun laws, we have a solution right now. Yeah, we work directly with uniformed police officers, DHS, S&T, R&D, FEMA, the Texas Secretary of State, all to bring a bullet-stopping drone to a squad car near you. Yeah, some numbers. The average municipal police department in the city of, like, for example, the city of Austin, has an annual budget of $400 million. $70 million of that earmarked for equipment. The United States spent $889 billion on law enforcement and security last year. That's billion. Our drones are currently priced at $25,000 a piece. They go on squad cars. There are 1,800 squad cars in the city of Austin. They want to put one on every squad car in the city. So this is the official police drone, red and blue lights. Business to business solicits us, that's stadiums, casinos, and grows. So basically anywhere that you want police presence, but without the cop. Yeah. Smart cities initiatives, DHS and the FAA, we're rolling out to Austin, the rest of the smart cities, North America, and the world. And now a word from our sponsors. We are very, very proud to be Backstage Capital Portfolio Startup. We won the St. Louis Roadshow. Check us out, we're in Forbes. Oh no, come back. Yeah, so this is real. This is the competition. Security drones. This happened, and this has actually happened more than once. Our drones will never do that. Okay, so what are we going to do with this $50,000, this prize? We're going to market. Specifically, the Army has asked us, they want to acquire some of our prototypes. They want to use them in defending against grenades and snipers in Mosul. This is an urban area with a high concentration of civilians. Yeah, so we're going to be using this money to go to market, literally save somebody's life and make war obsolete. Yeah. So, it's 2018, y'all. School children live tweet active shooters while other school children who have survived mass shooters talk them through it. The world needs this. Thank you very much. Okay, now what? Video. Oh, the video. Yeah, roll the video. Y'all want to see some bullets pulverize? I know I do. Oh my God, make it happen. You're killing me, Smalls. Yeah, this is real. Mm-hmm. This armor can absorb up to a 50 cal. That's anti-tank rounds. Leaves a dent about 1/8 of an inch thick. We also have blast-resistant armor. That's for the grenades. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, that there's bulletproof armor, but how exactly is the drone getting in between a bullet and a person, that quickly?
So it knew that there was a gun already present, and it was watching all along. It was watching from the minute that it identified that there is a gun, it is a real gun, it is a loaded gun, and it was prepared. It started moving into position immediately.
So do
And
you have a
the
video of
closer-
that?
Sorta. It's really hard for us to capture that sort of thing. We have a live demo that's coming up in the next couple of weeks that we'll be working directly with uniformed police officers to capture that video. For obvious reasons, everybody wants to see a demo without realizing it's a lot harder to do a live demo of this than people realize.
I'm a technology person, so I know about sensors and what they can see and so forth. So it's hard for me to see how you can have a sensor inside your drone going through your armor plating to actually recognize guns and so forth.
It's
So-
not under it. Yeah, we had to repurpose some sensors to get it to do that, and it's not underneath the armor. We don't really care that much. If the drone ends up getting destroyed, that's okay, as long as the drone gets destroyed and not you.
Thanks for the presentation. Really informative. Just in terms of the business model, how are you thinking about selling this? Is this for the equipment? Is there going to be a subscription fee?
It's a long-term lease. That's what entities like law enforcement agencies prefer to do. Not that it lasts that long. If you use it, it tends to break. Got a lot of replacement.
So that one was basically a shield that was on the ground that we saw.
Yeah, that was anchored and stationary. So
And how would this work if there's so that was inside, but if there's one that's inside that can also fly, but then it's also
yeah, it's smart enough to know. It's smart enough to be able to navigate to a valid, within a valid flight path. It can identify where it can fit, and it won't try. Like if you put a gun to your own head, it won't try to get in the way. It's smart enough to not do that. But if there is room for it, it will try to interpose itself and stay as close as it can, while being out of arm's reach.
and if it's like in a classroom, for example, it would know it can plow through a desk but not through a person if it's going to
Yes, it can tell the difference. And actually, if you must know, the rotors do disengage on soft body impact.
And how big will these be?
Nope. We're Intel IoT partners, so we do a lot of work on the Intel Aero. Like so.
So I guess like our real issue here is that we're having a hard time kind of understanding like exactly how it works. So maybe do you have some like data or metrics around tests that you've done that can give us some sort of sense of what you've sort of proven about effectiveness?
Yeah, I can provide that. I can make that available to you. These are the brightest lights ever. Yeah? Just yell.
Do you want to explain a little bit of how it works?
Sure, yeah. Oh, I can drill into it a little bit if you'd like. So sensor fusion, right? Where we're using more than one sensor that we've been able to source, and some of these are pretty sophisticated, and some of them we had to repurpose to get it to do that. Like for example, one of them was originally performed. It was a handheld MRI device, and we repurposed it to be able to assist us in detecting objects by density. And they work better in twos. We say, oh yeah, we'll put a drone on. It's actually 2 drones.
So in any kind of active shooting situation, would you want one drone to be theoretically paired with one gun?
Once any given drone identifies an active shooter, which is identified strictly by a gun in the hand, it can't tell anything about whose hand. It will attach to that hand and that gun, and it doesn't disengage. All right. That is you. Hold that.
Thank you so much. Can we also, now up, we have a big round of applause, please, for Erica Milchak of Curico.
Hi, I'm Erica Milchak, and I'm the founder and CEO of Curie Company. At Curie, At Curie, we use biotechnology to democratize sustainability. We're replacing raw materials that aren't safe or environmentally friendly with equally effective, sustainable solutions at a competitive price point. And we're particularly focused on one of the largest markets in the US, the personal care market. And these are the products that we use every day. So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So have you ever wondered why your shower grows mold, but your soaps and shampoos do not? This is because we use antimicrobial preservatives in the formulation of our consumer products. If we didn't, our soaps and shampoos would grow mold as well. Unfortunately, these petrochemicals don't break down, and they're pervasive in the environment and result in numerous negative consequences, and we have to come up with better solutions. If there's a biological problem, there's probably a biological solution. I want you to think about something. I can't manage to go more than 2 weeks without scrubbing my shower, but there's plenty of land to sea aquatic life that doesn't grow mold and mildew. Sorry about this. Let me just do that. And so really think about it. You never see moldy turtles. And this is because nature's got this figured out, and we can do better. We're innovating in developing safer preservatives, biomaterials through bioplastics, and antimicrobial wound care for consumer products. And our timing couldn't be better because the FDA is aggressively regulating a number of classes of chemicals found in consumer products. And they're specifically targeting those that go down the drain, end up in our waterways, don't break down, and result and have a negative impact on aquatic life and human health. This is a $70 billion problem that's driving product formulators crazy because there are so few solutions. And that's where we've stepped in. We've developed a number of antimicrobial solutions from materials that originate in the ocean because the ocean already knows how to break them down, keeping our waterways safe. And we've taken these antimicrobial solutions and we've developed an incredibly versatile bioplastic. We're using these bioplastics for a number of consumer products. What's great about our materials is that they decompose quickly, but that's also been to their demise. How do you take something that decomposes quickly and convert that into a consumer product? That's our know-how. To give you a sense of where we are today, we've raised $350,000 to support a manufacturing campaign to produce microbeads from our bioplastics. In the coming months, we'll be studying the solution stability and the decomposition of our microbeads. And most people don't realize that microbeads, which are found in soaps, shampoos, and toothpaste, to name a few, have been banned by the FDA, and the FDA has provided a timeline for when all of these products must be removed from shelves. This is a great space for our bioplastic, and we anticipate having our first product ready for launch first quarter 2019. Another great space, bandages. Think about it. No one ever recycles a Band-Aid. But our biopolymers are great material for bandages. They're biocompatible and have established antimicrobial properties. It's just a better solution. We have 3 global pharmaceutical and chemical manufacturers interested in our technology and a distribution channel in place to get our products into the hands of our consumers. We also have a relationship with Johnson & Johnson, and we'll be joining JLabs in the fall. And while FDA is a 4-letter word for most people, this is our team's strong suit. We have a strong IP track record in developing bioengineered and process chemistry solutions for FDA-regulated industries with over 35 years of combined experience. But we need your help and your financial support to shift the paradigm of consumer product formulation. Please join us in leveraging the best nature has to offer to develop better products at a competitive price point because sustainability doesn't have to be more expensive. Thank you.
So how will you market this? So when it's on the shelves, obviously I understand from this presentation the values and the benefits, but will it be totally appealing to people's sustainable instincts? How will the price point compare to other things on the shelves?
So primarily, we're marketing to, so our customer is a Johnson & Johnson. It's a chemical manufacturer. It's a Dow DuPont, Procter & Gamble. So that's really our customer. The way that we're marketing to them is directly through publications. So we put out a review identifying the gaps in technology, and our customers actually contacted us. So a lot of the relationships we have are from customers contacting us saying, oh, well, clearly you identified the gap. You must be filling it. The other way that we're engaging with customers is literally directly reaching out. We have a pretty strong network within our team. We're well represented in pharma, or have a pharma background, as well as biotech and consumer products, and our investors come from that area as well.
Really appreciate the presentation. Can you talk about your product pipeline? I know you mentioned one in Q1 2019, but perhaps spend a bit more time on that.
Absolutely. So the first thing that we're rolling out are the microbeads. That's going to establish supply chain and our ability to get to market, as well as the relationship with our distributor. After that, we're coming into the wound care market, mostly through the consumer wound care, but ultimately we'd like to get into reimbursement models as well. A big market for us is antimicrobial preservatives. So we want to go after the biocidal market. There's little regulation there, so we don't have to walk through clinical trials. Instead, we have to show that we have antimicrobial effectiveness testing. Much lower barrier to entry, and the field's wide open with all of the regulations around formaldehyde and other types of chemical preservatives, the parabens, et cetera.
Quick question. You mentioned that microbeads were banned. So,
Yes.
but then in the next breath, you said that you're making microbeads. So why are you going to get around the ban?
Yeah, so the polyethylene non-biodegradable microbeads were banned largely because they were having such a negative impact on aquatic life. What has replaced those beads is jojoba oil beads, so jojoba beads, as well as cellulose beads. They're anywhere between 5 to 15 times more expensive than the predecessor polyethylene beads. So that's the market that we're going after. Our beads are about 1/10 of that price, competitive with polyethylene-based beads. We're fully biodegradable.
And you wouldn't be considered illegal under the ban?
No, we're fully compliant with the new regulations.
I'm just trying to understand your chemistry. For example, soaps and other stuff, the chemistry hasn't changed for 3,000 years.
No, not at all.
It's simply the feel, the smell, the texture, and so forth. So what is it that you're going to do to maintain the smell, texture, feel, and have a different underlying chemistry that doesn't pollute, for example?
It's a great question. So the preservatives that are used in our soaps and shampoos, they're less than 1%, around 1% or less. That's what we're replacing. So the overall sensory feel won't change. We're actually developing biocidal agents that should be able to go much lower than the 1%. And again, that's how we're challenging that price point. Our solutions are catalytic, so they regenerate. Whereas formaldehyde and the chemical-based solutions, you use up one preservative model for everything that you kill. You keep using it over and over again. It's catalytic. So you can get away with much lower quantities.
And what kind of IP protection do you have on any of these, since they're, things that are occurring in nature?
So we have IP filed. New composition of matter is mostly what we're going after. We also have quite a bit of manufacturing art.
What's the sales cycle? So if you're talking to Johnson & Johnson, what else you need to prove to them to actually get them through?
Solution and decomposition. Those are the two big ones right now, and that's what we're focused on. Then it'll be antimicrobial effectiveness testing when we push into the preservative market.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Teresa Dankovich of Folia Water.
Hello. It is very bright, as everyone has said already. Hi, I'm Teresa Dankovich, co-founder and CTO of Folia Water. And we make the world's first water filter for pennies, not dollars. It's going to be the next billion-dollar household staple. So I have a question for you guys. We'll make this interactive. How many of you have traveled to countries like Mexico or Thailand and have been told not to drink the tap water? Show of hands? That's a pretty good number. However, it's a much smaller number than what we're actually targeting. Over 2 billion people have pathogens in their drinking water globally. Of course, this is really alarming number, and it's going to be really hard for us to tackle, but I have a really simple solution that I've been working on for the last decade. Basically, it's like a coffee filter paper. I have it in my pocket. You can check it out later. It also has a biocide. We use silver nanoparticles, I'll name it. And silver kills bacteria and viruses, and we've engineered the paper to be able to remove larger microbes like Cryptosporidium. Each paper lasts for 1 week, about 50 liters of water, and it can be enough water for a family of 4. And we use paper mills to make filter paper. Not surprising, right? So our process is completely in line. We don't have to do any extra steps to make this wonderful paper. And it's also, of course, protected by patents. And we make nanoparticles at a very low cost because we literally make it on the paper machine. This is also something that can be used for textiles, nonwovens, a lot of different applications. And basically, we package it as a consumer good product. So you can buy these filters like 5-packs, 1-packs in your local pharmacy or grocery store such as this. So we're going after consumer goods retail and in international markets. Later this year, we're going to launch into Mexico as our first market. The costs are extremely low because we're talking about paper production. And our packaged product will be about 7 cents per filter. And we're going to retail it at 50 cents each. This is much lower cost than our competitors. So what's currently the big dominant thing in the market is bottled water, as you guys won't be surprised, and we are a 75% savings on this. And the other kind of comparable is chlorine tablets, and that, of course, has a horrible off taste. We've done some consumer trials in various countries, and one of the really interesting feedbacks was people were drinking less soda and more water because they knew that water was safe to drink with our filters. Also, people recognize it's very important for children's health, and they really like the aspect that we are encouraging reuse of plastic bottles. As you can see here, our design encourages using soda bottles or other bottles that are lying around people's houses. And this might one day also impact the amount of plastic that people are using. Our founding team is scientists. I have a PhD in chemistry. My co-founder worked on the UN Millennium Development Goals while he was at Columbia doing his PhD. We have a great set of advisors going from water tech companies, consumer good companies, and also paper companies, of course. So to recap, 75% savings on bottled water. We have a huge market that's already paying $20 billion annually. Folia filters, the next $1 billion household staple. And my co-founder is going to come and answer questions with us, with me, I should say.
Actually,
Unless you don't want him.
no, I meant to share that. Perhaps is invited to have a co-founder come up on stage and join them for Q&A.
All right. Hi.
This is really awesome. Absolutely love it. So good work, you guys. Just curious about, of course, your IP protection.
Yeah. So we have WIPO International, which is World International Patent Organization, PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty, patent. That's a lot of words. Anyway, we filed that. So it's patent pending right now. We're going to go into country phase this summer, and you go through every country and you file patents in each country of interest on the process to make it. And we also have several provisionals that are filed earlier this year for, other technology ideas that we have too.
So do you feel that there's risk there, or you feel like this is sufficiently different from many of the other options that are on the market?
Oh, I would say
because I didn't see any other filters under like your competitors.
Yeah, there
really,
are filters, but they're usually priced at much higher price points, like 20 to like hundreds of dollars per filter. So we're at much lower cost.
What are those made of?
They're durable materials versus a consumable product. Like a durable material would be something that would be marketed to last for years, and we're going after a very short time period, so more like a single weekly use sort of idea.
So there's lots of ways to do reverse osmosis, graphite, carbon nanotubes. There's all sorts of nice ways to make novel nanomaterials.
Can you hear him, everyone?
Can you hear me? What we're doing differently is we're using metal. We're using the actual paper factories to take commodity metals to make the nanoparticles. So we're taking advantage of a 19th century, there's probably $1 trillion worth of R&D in paper mills, right? We have this 150-year-old technology, paper mills, which Terry's undergrad was fiber science at Cornell, and her PhD was in basically paper chemistry, where the whole thing is paper mills have all of this equipment on how to make things at a large scale. How do you make consumer goods at a large scale? So we're using consumer goods manufacturing equipment that's 100 years old to make the nanomaterials, which is why we cost pennies and not tens of dollars.
Okay, and this question might be obvious, but none of these metals that you're using to purify the water are dangerous for people to consume, because I know
No,
which
amount
metals
of
are being used.
Yeah, we use silver primarily, and silver in the effluent is under the World Health Organization recommendations, which is 100 parts per billion. So and of course, silver is a costly metal, so we use very little of it, to be honest.
I'd like to understand how you keep your filters from being clogged up. I've been to the slums in Philippines, Sao Paulo, and
Right.
the water there has a lot of dissolved solids, particles, all kinds of crap in there. So how do you keep your filters from just getting clogged up?
What are you?
We have this old technology. It's a coffee funnel. So the idea is that the sediment sits at the bottom, and you still have transport on the sides, because we drink a lot of caffeine as good startup founders,
Yeah.
and so we realize that the sides stay unclogged by doing that.
So there's a lot of surface area, essentially, that, if you want, yeah, sure.
So thanks so much. Obviously, huge problem that you're going after. At 50 cents for 1 week, can you just talk a little bit about kind of the business case and how you really scale this and make it into really a profitable venture?
Yeah, so it's a penny per liter, and that's really the key price point. It's in line with both what we found consumers have found, as well as Procter & Gamble's Pure Sachet. That was 15 years ago. They found that a penny per liter was within the willingness to pay. We've also done willingness to pay work in about a half a dozen to a dozen countries, either through interested distributors or directly with consumers. And you find that penny per liter is a viable price range. Keep in mind, we're not going, the important thing to note here is we're not going to the destitute. This is not the bottom 660 million people who are drinking surface water. This is the commercially operable 3 billion low-income people who make $2 to $10 a day. And the fundamental thing that makes it something a consumer good is to be a fraction of a day's wage. So people who make $2 to $10 a day can afford 50 cents for a week of safe water, whereas $20 or above is a durable good appliance. It's how you buy a refrigerator. So we're at that fraction of a day's wage is the whole goal.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Sona Shah of Neopenda.
Ready? And I am CEO of Neopenda, a medical device company improving newborn health outcomes in emerging markets. Imagine you've just delivered a 30-week-old premature baby, and your baby would immediately be rushed to a neonatal intensive care unit here in the US. And you would be reassured that every heartbeat and every breath is measured, so that if anything goes wrong, a nurse will be there to help your baby. Now imagine that you're delivering in this hospital ward in Uganda, where there are 75 other critically ill newborns, and only 2 nurses who aren't equipped with the tools necessary to help your baby. Currently, nurses have to manually measure vital signs using scarcely available equipment that just doesn't really exist in these environments. That leads to too many newborns that are dying from preventable causes. 45 million newborns need care from complications that happen at or around birth. And of those, 3 million newborns are dying every year. We are changing that by developing a wearable vital signs monitor that continuously measures 4 crucial vital signs all in this small wearable device. The vital signs wirelessly connect to a central tablet where a nurse can efficiently view the health status of all of the babies in the room just by looking at one screen. And of course, if any of the vital signs go outside of a healthy range, a nurse is immediately alerted so she knows where to direct her attention most efficiently. We're starting out by focusing on the 45 million newborns that need our help in low-income countries. But we can readily adapt our technology to many other patient populations and use cases, starting with pediatric patients in hospital settings and moving out to rural communities where community health workers and midwives could really benefit from what we're doing. Combined, this gives us a $715 million market just for our first product. Now, we know we aren't the only option that's out there, but we are the only one that continuously measures 4 crucial vital signs in appropriately and affordable design, specifically for emerging markets. So there's been this renewed focus on improving newborn health outcomes all over the world, especially with the given Sustainable Development Goals. And on top of that, ministries of health are spending more and more on medical equipment. In 2015, for example, Uganda spent $343 million on medical equipment and pharmaceuticals, which is a 46% increase from what they spent in 2012. We'll sell our devices to public and private hospitals who are increasing their budgets as well. But to really achieve the scale that we're looking for, we'll also sell to NGOs and aid agencies that have a much broader reach. We're currently signing letters of intent with 2 NGOs that have expressed the intent to purchase for 4,000 health facilities that they operate in around the world. With this model, we are the perfect combination of high social impact in addition to sustainable financial returns. And we have a really strong team that's leading these efforts, and we're backed by a diverse advisory board and several key partners who have expertise in business, medical devices, and international development. Together, we've been able to accomplish quite a lot. We've been to Uganda several times to really understand the needs on the ground and iteratively design our solution with 150 users from 27 different hospitals. We've raised over $600,000 in funding, and we've finalized our MVP that we're really excited to launch in our immediate next steps of clinical trials to assess accuracy, feasibility, and impact prior to commercialization at the end of next year. But to keep all of this momentum going, we need your help. So we invite you to join us in the fight to reduce newborn mortality. Thank you very much.
So really appreciate that you're trying to solve what is definitely a significant problem. There is a lot of competition in the space in terms of companies that are targeting the US, and they've had to raise a lot of money because it's pretty difficult to actually track some of the vitals on newborns. So can you talk about why you chose to do the head versus putting a sensor on a baby's foot or a baby's wrist or a belly, and why you went in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. Thank you for that. So the reason why we chose the forehead in the first place is based on the technology that we're using. So we're using pulse oximetry-based technology and deriving 3 vital signs from that: pulse rate, oxygen saturation, and respiratory rate. Literature suggests that getting respiratory rate from pulse ox is the most accurate on the forehead, but we are testing on multiple locations on the body in our clinical studies for not only for accuracy, but also for feasibility and usability of the product, in addition to comfort. So that's the immediate next step. We're testing on the forehead, the wrist, the ankle, and the upper arm.
What is the cost for your device?
The sales price or our
sale price?
The sales price is $2,500 for a package of 15 wearable devices and 1 tablet.
Means what per unit?
It's roughly $160.
Okay. So I'm an investor in Owlet, which was on your chart.
Yep.
And we're doing spectacularly.
Yep.
So why don't you just go into the U.S. market and crush us with a better product and so forth?
It's very possible to do that, and we're very familiar with Owlet. They're doing really great work here. So we're targeting critically ill newborns in hospital settings in emerging markets. We think there is a very large and untapped market that we are very excited to be entering into. The Owlet market is very different. For those of you who don't know, it's for more of the parent at-home use for parents here in the U.S. So there are certainly some synergies that I would love to learn more about, but I do think we're addressing entirely different markets.
So I'm definitely not a healthcare tech investor. But, 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I was in college, I worked as a unit service coordinator at UCLA Medical Center. And, they had a little thing that goes on the finger to track this stuff. So, which, even though that was decades ago, looks like it was cheaper or less expensive than what you have now. So what is it exactly that's different about your product over, the existing, what looks like a pretty simple solution, and why does it have a competitive advantage?
Yeah, so the probes that you're talking about on your finger, that's the sensor itself, but then it's hooked up to a monitor that is thousands of dollars. A single monitor can cost maybe $6,000 US, and it's not appropriately designed for a low resource setting, so it doesn't take into consideration that power stability just doesn't really exist. Wireless connectivity has issues when you're looking at a room full of 70 babies. Something may break down in that type of equipment, and there really isn't maintenance and training provided for that. So we're encompassing all of those design constraints specifically for emerging markets and really putting that into the design of our product, not just on the design of the physical product, but also including maintenance, training, things that often get overlooked for these markets.
And what did the people say that you talked to that actually tested this device in your early trials? Were they changing their behavior? Was it just about getting faster data?
Yeah, so we're entering into the first formal clinical studies in the coming months, so we're really excited to learn more about that. But we have designed it with over 150 users, and they're really excited about what we're doing. They have this issue day in and day out, and every single time they tell me, I can't wait until we have a vital signs monitor. I have no idea which babies are actually in trouble. I've seen babies die right in front of me just because we don't know that something is wrong with them. So it really hits a pain point that these nurses and clinicians are having. So they're really supportive of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So really good news, everybody. We are trending on Twitter in New York City. So really big round of applause for that. And that also means please keep your momentum up and going. And then next up, we have Samantha Snabes of Re3D.
What if I told you that this water bottle I'm holding that I stole from the Google lobby when I entered today could be transformed into a 3D printed piece of furniture? Or better yet, an upper arm prosthetic, or a lower limb prosthetic that could then be cast into metal? What if it could treat skin cancer? What if it could print an artificial coral reef? Or what if it could make a plane that could fly? At Re3D, we're addressing the two biggest barriers constraining 3D printing, and our customers and community are doing this every day. You see, when you look across the 3D printing landscape, in 2012, and still today, this is what you find. On one hand of the spectrum, you've got desktop systems making iPhone cases and bobbleheads, things you hold in your hand. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have large industrial systems, but they're cost prohibitive, starting at $100,000 and more. Hi, I'm Samantha, and I'm the co-founder and catalyst for Re3D, where we're addressing the two biggest barriers with 3D printing through Gigabot, who's 30 times bigger than a desktop printer and a fraction of the cost of an industrial system, starting at just under $9,000. We prototyped Gigabot using $40,000 we received equity-free from Startup Chile, and then launched it on Kickstarter, where the response was huge, no pun intended, because we managed to raise over $250,000, followed by a second successful crowdfunding campaign. And we're pleased to announce that we've continued to sell Gigabot post-Kickstarter in over 50 countries around the world, and we now have multiple services that we offer around this platform that generate recurring revenue and over $4 million in sales. But you see, we believe we've validated the market for affordable large-scale industrial 3D printing, but we don't do it because we're looking for glory. We do it because we have a relentless commitment to social responsibility. We have a 1 for 100 model, whereby we give away one printer for every 100 we deliver to someone trying to make a difference in their community, such as Good Work Studios, featured here, who won last year, to use their Gigabot to make deployable flooring for refugees around the world. And now we're here today in New York to share what's been our ultimate vision. You see, we want to go a step further in making 3D printing accessible by modifying Gigabot to 3D print from plastic waste. That's right, trash, where 80% of it is untouched in landfills worldwide. We want to give that trash a home. By modifying Gigabot to directly accept plastic trash, we can unlock new and high-growth markets together around the world and throughout the 3D printing landscape. We know we can do this. We have a team of NASA scientists, engineers, strategists, assembly technicians, and machinists who have the knowledge, know-how, and network to make this a reality. We're also complemented by 2 outstanding advisors you might recognize from Silicon Valley. And now we're here to share our progress. You see, this isn't just a pipe dream. Using $180,000 we won last summer from the WeWork Creator Awards, as well as other pitch competitions, we were able to bring this to fruition. We've now made a prototype that's able to accept pelletized plastic waste, to print big, and to dream huge. We've done this in an open way. That's a big part of our narrative. By partnering with groups around the world, we're able to identify new forms of trash and to iterate quickly together. And we're pleased to announce that on Friday, we're going to be launching it on Kickstarter, so you too can get in on the conversation and become our very first beta testers. We've also opened an outpost in Puerto Rico after our factory weathered Hurricane Harvey, and we endured 2 storms a month later in San Juan. We're committed to standing up our presence there and leveraging the plastic trash that's accruing post-Maria on those water bottles to allow for new job creation, as well as to reduce the dependence on imported goods as we problem solve together. So now we're here today with you. And we'd like to invite you to partner with us. You see, with that $50,000 you could grant us today, we'd have the opportunity to build artificial coral reefs. We've already been given approval for a pilot project by the Deputy Minister of Natural Resources to make this a reality. So it'll allow us to continue to employ employees that we've already identified and brought on board to 3D print artificial coral reefs in a controlled pilot where most of the reefs have been destroyed near our own apartment. So we're looking forward to partnering with you as we revolutionize the hottest trend in manufacturing together and truly enable locally and sustainably driven fabrication. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You go for plastic trash, and you use pelletized plastic as your input.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that a big step?
It is a big step, and it's a big problem. There's a reason why there's not a lot of people working on this, particularly as a bootstrapped hardware company. So what we've done right now is I brought some pellets, if you're not familiar with what that means. It's kind of ground up plastic that has a certain shape. This is PHA, we're printing with that, as well as PET, PLA, and ABS. We've done both reclaimed plastic and non-reclaimed plastic, and NSF SBIR Phase 1 is funding our development in a comparison trial right now with a couple of universities. We'd like to get to flake, though. That's that ground up plastic. Here's what we learned and where your $50,000 can help. What we found is that low-cost grinders aren't available. So as we think about printing from flake or ground up water bottles, we also have to engineer a lower cost grinder that's just as mobile and modular as Gigabot is. So we're starting with the pellets now. We're taking some waste, we'll be pelletizing it and printing with it, sourcing pellets that are already available on the market. It's much cheaper than current 3D printing. And then we'll also be working with NSF and SBIR to solve the flake issue.
So you did a $300,000 Kickstarter campaign. What did people get on the Kickstarter campaign?
Sure. So for our first campaign, that's where we launched our company at South by Southwest. We'll have our 5-year anniversary in just a few days. That was for Gigabot. So it started off as just an idea in our heads. We made a toilet-sized 3D printer. We put it on Kickstarter, and it was just for that Generation 1 platform. We're now on Generation 3 Plus.
Okay, so did you deliver 3D printers to people?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so what was the feedback?
The feedback was great. You know, early on, one of the feedbacks we got was that we didn't know how to bootstrap a factory, and we probably should have provided instructions. So over the last couple years, we've built our team to 20, and we have very detailed instruction manuals and a 95% satisfaction rating on Zendesk right now. We strive for about 98%. We also heard from the community that they wanted these services. So they wanted us to come and visit and maintain their bot, particularly our enterprise customers. A lot of them weren't traditional Kickstarter backers. They registered an account just because they wanted this technology so much and saw value for their business. And they wanted extended warranties and other services. We also saw a high demand for contract printing. Not everyone wants to manage a big printer. So a lot of feedback for that shaped the evolution of what Re3D became and allowed us to have a 7,000 square foot facility in Houston.
What were some of the common use cases that individuals were doing with their 3D printer?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. What's interesting to me is I think some of the common use cases are things that are less sexy, like gaskets. Those are expensive, right? It takes a long time to source them, and they are hard to procure sometimes. Fixtures, jigs. But then there's a lot of really flashy things with 3D printing. I think my favorite story from the last couple years, Morgan, our storyteller, and the Yellow Sweater, visited them as Texas A&M University, where they actually made this cast for a dog that had skin cancer and did a research trial to look at how they could actually use a 3D print themselves to scatter the particles, to treat the dog with 100% outcome. So now you're starting to think about our type of 3D printing. This is one of our first 3D prints from pelletized water bottle plastic, PET, actually being used to address cancer. MD Anderson is also a customer of ours as well. And then one of my favorite stories is the toilet seat for the International Space Station. I'm really proud that females now have a better way to pee, hailing from NASA. So the use cases are all over the map. The reef thing is coming up a lot right now in Puerto Rico, where I'm living. Almost all of the reef was damaged due to the hurricanes. That's a real problem when hurricane season starts in just a couple of months. So they're frantically looking for any way to expedite the process of allowing polyps and organisms to form an ecosystem around the reef where it was. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Up, we have Tania Pina of Renewable.
That's quite a bit. Okay. Hi, my name is Tania Pina, and I'm the founder and CEO of Renewable. So at Renewable, we take a patent-pending process and allows us to take food waste and turn it into a fertilizer for the agricultural industry. And here in East Harlem, 40% of diabetic patients are unable to adhere to their dietary guidelines because of the fact that they lack nutritious options in their local vicinity. And you have venture-backed farms such as Gotham Greens and Bright Farms that are trying to resolve that, trying to grow the right type of food, but unable to do it organically because they're not able to have organic fertilizer work with their systems. And so that's what really inspired us at Renewables, to really help more farms meet this nutritious gap, especially in cities where there's a lot of growth and a lot of demand from municipalities pushing for food waste diversion. And the organic fertilizer market is growing, and it's huge. So here globally, worldwide, it's a $10 billion market, and that's selling both dry and liquid fertilizers for hydroponic and soil systems. However, in the US, to meet the $16 billion organic produce market, we're addressing a market worth $3 billion. Using our same IP and our same infrastructure and product line, we can also address related soil markets worth $11.5 billion. So we make money by helping food waste suppliers save up to 38%. So that's a service to them. And then we also make money by being able to sell that food waste into a fertilizer direct to farms as well as resellers. What we do, unlike our competitors, is that we're able to optimize and reclaim the nutrients from that food waste, and with less space and less capital. And we're sorely focused on cities where there's a high demand for food waste diversion. So these companies are what we're really excited to engage with, and a lot of them have approached us for our organic product. And so we're helping them realize up to 20% additional yield by using our organic products, and also helping them to be able to grow organically in a hydroponic system, which is growing in a soilless environment using only water and nutrients. And that's tremendously hard to do that organically. So we want to be able to provide the biological superior alternative to chemicals. And what we do in the hydroponic market is we're the only brand introducing food waste into hydroponic systems. And unlike other categories or other brands, we're able to provide 20% cheaper price point than the market leading brand, and able to show that we are comparable in effective yields, plant size, plant taste, and color profile to synthetic alternatives. We have an incredible team coming from brands such as Unilever, Converted Organics, Bright Farms, and New York Life Investments. And we're able, because of our customer relationships and our relationships with thought influencers in the industry, really help to grow our organic word of mouth. And that's what's gotten us a lot of traction today, as well as our partners with Mainstem and American Hydroponics. So here we have customers. We have a customer pipeline worth $550,000, and we have revenue to show that we've already have our product out in the market field. Now we're raising $1 million and have bootstrapped this from about $281,000 to really accelerate our sales pipeline and increase our production capacity. The $50,000 would allow us to keep our team full time, accelerate our sales, and increase our inventory for the farms that are in queue waiting for samples. So we really hope that you join our journey to help food waste become a viable technology within the agricultural industry. Thank you.
Question is, what do you do to the food waste to make it a safe organic fertilizer?
Sure. So our IP is around how we use aerobic composting combined with the technology to take that liquefied waste stream and we process it using heat and pasteurization to turn it into a shelf-stable product. So the composting allows us to heat it, and that heating treatment allows us to remove all pathogens that would ordinarily cause a food safety issue.
And where are you getting the food waste from, and what does that process look like? How long does it take to turn it into this end good?
Yeah, great point. So we source from commercial, pre-consumer, source-separated food waste suppliers. That meaning hotels, restaurants, more so at the grocer as well as wholesale produce distributor level. And we take two products. We're creating two products. One is a pelletized fertilizer just from food waste. The other is a liquid nutrient. Both of those processes allow us to turn it into a viable product from source to actually an end product within 24 hours.
Do they pay you to take their waste?
They do.
And do you have a facility built, or?
Yep, so we're in
How
between.
cost? How big will it be?
Sure. So we're in between facility spaces. We first started off in Long Island City, and we're looking at spaces in South Bronx. There is a potential partner that's interested in bringing the logistics and hauling aspect. So really, we're just providing a market and a fertilizing manufacturing capability, and that then provides two forces so that we're not absorbing the cost of manufacturing assets like that.
I was a little confused. You talked about this being sort of for agriculture, and then you said something about shelf stable. I mean, are you selling this like in quantity to farms, or are you selling this like at Home Depot for people who are gardening?
Good point. So not retail, direct to farm, as well as resellers, and those being distributors. The reason why I mentioned shelf stable is because with a biological product, there are times where it may bloat, and that's just because of the microbes and natural elements in it. So you need to make sure that there's no activity that would ordinarily cause a food safety issue. We do sell in multiple unit sizes, but most direct to farm buy in anywhere between a gallon up to about 250 gallon totes.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your unit economics? I mean, obviously you're getting paid to take it. It's costing you something, and you're selling it for what? So can you explain that and tell us about the scalability?
Sure. So two types of products. The pelletized product has a larger contribution margin because it's just food waste. So on a per ton basis, direct to farm, we would sell it at $300 per ton. That's a roughly gross profit margin of 267%. So that's our highest profitable product. And then the liquid product line, so we have three. Our Away We Grow, which helps grow lettuce and tomatoes and the like. On a per gallon basis, we sell direct to farm at $47.99, giving us a profit margin of roughly 47%.
Okay, and so if it's $300 a ton, like how many tons are you able to sell? So like from a scalability perspective.
Yeah, so one facility.
You need to sell a lot of this.
One facility, we have right now a purchaser that's interested in $400,000 worth of that dried product. And that means we would need 2 million pounds of food waste. The interesting thing about that is the cost of processing that is placed on the customer that we place a machine at. So for instance, a wholesale food distributor, we place a machine there. It uses steam compression to dehydrate the food waste, if you will. We take the byproduct of that, we pelletize it at our facility. So the cost of running the machine as well as the machine itself is transferred to the customer, which is the same thing as a food waste supplier in this case.
Another question. You're aware that Chipotle had a lot of problems with organic farms. Are you doing anything to help Chipotle?
No, I think Chipotle's issue, don't tweet that. So I think Chipotle's issue is because the smallhold and medium-sized organic farms, all soil-based to my knowledge, have varying practices by which they grow. So their issue, unlike Walmart where they're sourcing from much larger farms, there's consistent protocols. Nope, I'm not answering that. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know what. Okay, thank you so much. So next up, we have Ugwa Mineo of Solstice Energy Solutions.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ugwa Mineo, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Solstice Energy Solutions, where we have developed the first digital transfer switch of its kind. So for those unfamiliar, a transfer switch is a universal device that any building around the world that uses backup power sources use this to actually change between power sources. It's traditionally a dumb mechanical device that you use manually to switch power sources, but much like what Google's Nest did for the thermostat, Solstice is doing for the transfer switch with Shift, ultimately connecting and intelligently managing distributed energy resources starting in emerging markets. My family's from Nigeria, a country of nearly 190 million people, and what's set to be the third most populous country in the world. And while much attention gets given to the millions of people who lack access to electricity, Solstice is actually addressing the nearly 70 million homes and businesses that struggle with a grossly unreliable electricity grid and have to generate power themselves. We've spoken to over 100 middle-class homes and businesses who've expressed their frustrations with having to use costly, polluting backup generators, spending over $5.2 billion annually just to fuel them, as well as the frustration of manually managing multiple power sources with no metering or insights. We are really excited to see that with increasing demand and increasing development in solar and battery solutions, we're going to have more complex energy systems that will require additional intelligence, flexibility, and control. And that's why it's with much excitement that I get to introduce the Solstice Shift, a groundbreaking remote energy management platform that's allowing homes and businesses to now monitor, manage, and control all of their energy sources from a simple mobile application, while we use their data in real time to help them save money and figure out how to integrate cleaner, more reliable alternatives like batteries and solar. What's also exciting about Shift is that it's a drop-in solution that replaces the traditional transfer switch. To date, users haven't had a way to monitor, meter, or control their energy resources. But now Solstice is optimizing all of the energy sources that may be connected to a building and giving users unprecedented insight and control. We sell Shift through channel partners in the market that include real estate developers as well as energy providers like generator companies. We also make additional revenue off this hardware sale from lead generation for solar and battery companies. Although we're pre-revenue, we have 3 key drivers of growth that include international expansion, additional software and data services, as well as further integration into the solar value chain. Solstice Core Technology Shift is actually a product of my research while I was a PhD student in civil engineering at Stanford University, and where I met the rest of my colleagues. We're supported by a fantastic team that brings together African local knowledge, institutional research, and previous startup experience. Right now, we are in field beta, going through safety and reliability testing by a third party for certifications. And actually, if we win this prize money, it will be going towards building out our first 30 to 40 units for beta customers in Lagos, Nigeria, who are ready and waiting for us, and we'd be able to deliver to them as early as 60 days from now if we receive this prize funding. You know, when I think about my village, energy resource-rich region of Nigeria, I'm often reminded by the energy crisis that's plagued and devastated not only the environment, but my family as well. And before I used to come back to the States, the elders used to always tell me, "Kufre irangmfo," which means don't forget home. And I haven't. Through Shift, we have unprecedented access to consumer and energy data from these consumers that can help us shape a distributed energy landscape that's emerging and help societies leapfrog into more sustainable societies. So at Solstice, we're really excited to be developing technologies that will enable this sustainable transition, and I hope that you will join us in fulfilling our vision. Thank you.
Who's your customer? Is it an apartment complex, a village, a factory? Who actually buys this solution?
Sure. So our customers are middle-class, urban homes and businesses. They're typically using a generator that's about the size of what you saw, if you know generator sizes, higher than 9 kVA, around 9 kilowatt generator. And they're spending already hundreds of dollars a month to thousands of dollars a month on backup fuel for their generator. And those are our customers. They buy through generator companies that in-country actually are like Home Depot. So although they're a generator company, they sell all the other type of energy gadgets that you might get for your home. They're distributors as well.
So I was actually just in Nigeria over Thanksgiving in Ogidi for my grandpa's 90th. And yeah, the generator the electricity went off probably about every like half hour. We just noticed like the TV kept switching off. So, even having gone through that experience and seeing the generator go on, and I guess, whatever was all sort of happening in the background, how exactly is Shift, managing sort of using, I guess, the generator versus the regular electricity? Like, I don't think I totally understand from your presentation exactly how you're improving the situation or saving the energy.
Sure. So I was the middle child who was tasked with going out and switching power sources when there was a blackout. So if there's a blackout at 2 a.m., somebody has to go downstairs outside, switch power sources. When power comes back on, if you would actually have to go back and switch again. It's a very frustrating process. It reduces productivity. And actually what most people do now, because it's so frustrating, is they just leave the generator running. So now, instead of using pretty cheap electricity from natural gas from the utility, even though it's barely there, I'm running a generator for 20 to 24 hours a day. So what Solstice does is Solstice seamlessly manages all of that. So now from my phone, I could see my parents' house in Port Hackett. I'd get an alert when power goes off. I can put it into automatic mode, let Solstice Shift run everything in my house, or I can just remotely turn on my generator or switch to my battery and inverter, give more flexibility, all from my phone here in New York. And so we do that, but also we're using that data in real time to help them figure out what's a better alternative for you. They really don't understand yet or trust the solar and battery thing that's coming into the market. We're designing in real time and telling them this is how much you can save, this is a better alternative. And if you integrate it, we run that whole thing as well, and we're optimizing your system to help you save money.
You have the revenue and operating expense projections on here. Could you talk a little bit about the unit economics of how much it actually you think will cost you to make this and actually distribute it and get it into the right hands? And it seems like you already have some distribution partners maybe identified.
Yes. Yeah. So for the smallest rated device that would support like a 3 to 5 bedroom home, the COGS of the system, it's about $150 for us to make it and get it to Nigeria. Based on that cost, we have about a 35 to 60% margin depending on the rating of the device. So the higher rated devices have lower margin than our smaller rated devices, and I can talk more about that. Our margins actually can look quite attractive because there's a lot of hardware-enabled services that we can offer once we're actually in a house. So for example, we work with property managers who need to sub-meter their tenants, and so once they put that in, we can offer additional premium services to this customer and make a larger margin from that actual device, or lead generation for solar companies. Since we have that data about the house already, we've designed and sized the system, I can give you a customer way faster than you having to go do an audit and find them yourself.
How specific is this to a market like Nigeria? And is it how many power sources do you need to make this be a viable solutions? Like in the U.S., do you have plans to move here? Is it really, this is made, obviously it's a huge market in Nigeria and Africa, is that your focus for the foreseeable future, or is that where you're testing and then you see it moving quickly?
Yeah, so Nigeria is just an exciting initial market for us because of the sheer size and the amount of people who are using generators, one of the largest generator markets in the country. We actually really want to disrupt that and get people to using cleaner, more reliable sources, but the technology works in the States. We're hooked up at Prospect, Silicon Valley, running generators and their electricity there right now. It's pretty country agnostic. We just have to tell the controller where it's actually at, and it can begin running. It can support multiple power sources. It's relatively brand agnostic, so we can communicate with inverters, batteries, solar, generator, and the utility.
Got it. So yeah, so solar would be a great use case in the U.S. for people with a panel on the roof. They want to be able to both the data, but also switch back and forth to the source.
Yes, and to answer the last part, we are planning to expand. Some of the markets of interest include India and other parts of Latin America.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Microphone is not working, but thank you so much. It is working now. That's wonderful. And next up, we have Emma Yang of Timeless.
Hi, my name is Emma Yang. I'm 14 years old and the founder of Timeless. Thank you. So this is my grandma. When I was around 7 or 8 years old, my grandma forgot my birthday, but we just thought she was being a little forgetful. But then she forgot how old I was, what she had just had for dinner, and later on how to turn on the TV. She lost track of time and forgot where she was. All of the common difficulties faced by Alzheimer's patients. My grandma is not alone. There are 50 million people worldwide suffering from Alzheimer's. By 2050, that number is expected to rise to 130 million, but there is no cure. Like my grandma, Alzheimer's patients have difficulty remembering events, taking in new information, and recognizing their family and friends. So my family hunted extensively everywhere for ways that we could help her, as it became more and more difficult for her to remember daily information. We set up visual aids around the house and sent her photos on her iPad in hopes that she'll remember us for as long as possible. But we also found that using a mobile phone or a computer to look at photos and stay engaged with loved ones could help to slow down cognitive decline. So my family looked for an app that we were sure must exist, but we came away disappointed because in fact, it didn't. There are many tools in the market, but none of them are created for Alzheimer's patients to help them improve their daily lives. So I took the matter into my own hands and developed Timeless. Timeless is a first of its kind, caregiver-assisted mobile app that empowers Alzheimer's patients by helping them live better, more independent daily lives. Let me show you the core functions of the app. So Timeless has 4 core features. Updates is a stream of photos sent by family and friends, where each of the photos are tagged by facial recognition with the name of the people in the photo and their relationship to the patient. Today simplifies daily information such as events and the weather. Contacts is a picture phone book where the patient can call or text someone with the touch of a button. And the most unique function is Identify, where the patient can take a photo of a face and Timeless will tell them who it is. Timeless's comprehensive feature set addresses the daily challenges faced by Alzheimer's patients in a unique and simple way. Timeless has received worldwide press coverage from the US to Spain to Mexico and Malaysia and has been widely shared on social media. About a month ago, Bill Gates shared Timeless on Twitter and Facebook. There's nothing more gratifying than having someone like him validating the idea. The feedback from social media was also overwhelming. These are 2 among many. So what I'm working on right now is foundational. Recent research also suggests that mobile usage data and language used could help in detecting Alzheimer's earlier, which brings me to the long-term vision for Timeless. We want to make Timeless not only a tool, but a research platform for Alzheimer's research. We want to be able to collect data about mobile usage and patient activities, such as navigations and eye movements, to be able to power machine learning to detect Alzheimer's earlier. The possibilities are endless. We are a young startup with a small team of design and technology resources who are committed to building Timeless. We're also supported by subject matter experts who are advising us. The next step for us is to scale the development and to drive adoption. The success of the app depends on how many people we're able to help. A brain health center in Florida has already recently agreed to be the first site to offer the app to their patients. We need more of those sites. Alzheimer's is one of the greatest challenges of our century and will continue to affect millions of lives in the years to come. It will only get worse. Before we find a cure, we need the collective power of the community to help make the lives of those suffering from Alzheimer's better and easier. Please join me in making Timeless a reality. Thank you. Timeless using Touch ID or Face ID. Oh, can we pause that, please? Not needed. Thanks.
Great. Anyways, I think you can hear me. Okay. So really, really amazing job.
Thank
this
you.
is awesome. It looks great. Would just love to know kind of how far along you are with the product.
Yeah, definitely. This is a great question. So right now, the product's under development. Our phase 1, which is the features, the version that you're seeing up here, will be released mid-year and around the summer. And from there, I'm planning to initially start with the organizations that I've been talking to already about releasing Timeless, such as the Brain Health Center in Florida, as well as organizations such as the Alzheimer's Association, the New York chapter, and Caring Kind and Speed Readers. These are all Alzheimer's organizations that have connections to patients and their caregivers. So we're going to be starting from that this summer.
And are there any development challenges, or is pretty much everything that you want to build not difficult to execute?
So right now, basically my tech stack is, back end, and then I'm also, one of my advisors is a CTO at a company called Kairos. They're based in Miami.
I know, we actually invested in them. So
Oh,
yes.
wow. So Kairos is sponsoring the facial recognition platform. And so, that's the basic tech stack. So right now, I've been looking to co-develop with other developers because since I'm a full-time student, I need more, people who are, experienced in developing apps to help me with this. But, I've been coding since I was a really young age. So, this has been a learning experience for me. But, I think right now I'm pretty good with the development part.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. I'd love to know when you think about designing the app, how much you think about catering to the patient versus the loved ones. And do you think up front will it be the loved ones who are kind of setting it up, maybe loading it to the network? Will that be all the patients? And how do you think about kind of both the user and the customer being potentially two different people?
Thanks for your question. So one of the big things I was thinking about since the beginning, and the reason why I've gone through so many iterations of designs, this is one of the third actually, is we want to make the workflow and the UI UX as simple as possible for the patients, especially elderly and Alzheimer's patients. So actually one of the people I'm working with on my team is a UI UX designer. She's based in Austin, Texas. And she's actually working on making everything as simple as possible for patients. And also it's a really closed system. So patients only receive photos and they see those events, but they don't need to set up anything by themselves. The caregiver manages all of that.
Very good presentation.
Thank
Anything
you.
you can do for Alzheimer's is very valuable. And where can I sign up?
Yeah, so I'm releasing this summer, and so yeah, right now I'm doing really basic, reaching out to individual people, based on especially on social media. I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying, this would be something exactly what I'm looking for, and so that's something that I'm looking to work on this summer.
Inspiring presentation. Really grateful. Could you talk a little bit about the product roadmap and what you'd want, the features that you want to see added once you launch the original version?
Yeah, so the one that you saw on the screen with the updates of today, and then the picture sharing and all of that, that's going to be released this summer. And then my phase 2 actually is building out things like a gamification module with trivia to quiz and jog the memory of the patient, and then also things like music, which has been suggested a lot, and then translating the app into Spanish and Chinese so that language is not a barrier. But after that, I want to be working on phase 3 is the research platform and talking about talking to research facilities and doctors and scientists and seeing what kind of data would be really useful for you in terms of what can I collect from people's phones to see how can I advance Alzheimer's research. So that's one of the long-term goals, but that's something I'm also really interested in doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Ashley Crowder of Ventana.
Hi, I'm Ashley Crowder, the CEO and co-founder of Ventana, and I won't tell you my age. We are transforming consumers into brand advocates through mixed reality experiences. Imagine walking through a street in a new city and footprints appearing in front of you to magically lead the way. Or better yet, a giant green arrow above your head so your Uber driver actually knows where to find you. This is the power of augmented reality. It's giving us seamless access to data that we never had before. It's going to change every aspect of our lives, from engineering to military to education, and Goldman Sachs predicts it'll be an $80 billion industry by 2025. That's less than 10 years. The problem is there's a huge cost and steep learning curve for creating these types of mixed reality experiences. There's no reliable metrics and no integration into current software systems. So we've built the Ventana platform to easily create these interactive hologram experiences with built-in data collection that automatically sync with your CRM system to quantify that engagement. Clients like Mercedes are using our technology to leverage their endorsement deals. Roger Federer is usually pretty busy during the Open, but we let him play tennis with almost 8,000 fans, increasing their engagement by 20% from past years. Or Lexus, we created hologram basketball games and car configurators. So with a swipe of your hand, you would pick the color, the rims, the interior. But then I know exactly what car you want, which we send to their CRM. So a 2-week installation turned into a 2.5-year contract with 10 locations, and we continue to more than double their qualified leads from all past activations. And corporate clients like Intel use our technology for live telepresence and business communication. So we could beam their executive live to Taiwan to announce their new processor chip. Our clients range from Disney to Nike to even a national bank who we just created an AI hologram teller, who when I walk up knows I'm Ashley Crowder, gives me access to my bank account, and still tries to upsell me a credit card. We've more than doubled revenue every year since we started, reaching profitability in 2017 with over $2 million in revenue and 78% gross margins. We have 3 issued patents on hardware and software and 17 patents pending. Today, we license our software and we rent and sell our hardware, but we're moving to an enterprise SaaS model. And we have closed 1 SaaS client, which is a cruise line in Europe, and becoming display agnostic. There are other hologram companies out there, but we are the only one with interactive software and data collection. We view ourselves as an experience platform and the Adobe of mixed reality. We're a team of mostly engineers, including myself. I have a bachelor's and master's in engineering, and my co-founder, Ben, was Forbes 30 under 30 last year. We raised $2.2 million in seed funding and have an amazing team of investors, including General Petraeus, Coragen Ventures here in New York, and Vector Ventures in Hong Kong. And we're raising a Series A because now is the time. Millennials define luxury as an experience, not a product. So how do you sell them something? And Gen Z are digital natives who demand the latest and greatest in technology to communicate. None of them are watching commercials, and no one's looking at billboards, so brands are spending more and more in experiential marketing. The Association of National Advertisers predicts brand activation spend will top $740 billion by 2020. And Ventana is the backbone to create, distribute, and quantify that engagement. Thank you.
Who's your biggest customer, and can you describe what they're doing with AR?
Yeah, so Lexus, I would say, is one of our biggest customers. They're using us for consumer engagement at stadiums and dealerships. So to grab your attention and track your data and then follow up with you after. The AI hologram for the bank, we actually just released in September. That is becoming one of our largest turnkey solutions. We're working on a deal to replace, or augment the security check-in, at all these buildings in New York, for example. And imagine this bank becomes like the self-checkout line at the grocery store with one bank manager and interactive holograms to do business with.
What does that dashboard look like? So after every day or every month when Lexus wants to look at this, what are they looking at? How is the data portrayed or aggregated? How are you presenting that to them?
Yeah, so it's through our cloud portal. I can log in, I can see every activation we've ever done and have going on right now. It shows me everybody who does an experience. We have facial recognition built in, so I know your age and gender and sentiment just by you engaging. With Roger, hopefully everybody's happy. With Lexus, I know you're happier looking at a blue RX than a red LC to understand product preference. Most of our activations send you a video. I know if you shared the video, where you shared it, how many times you watched that, so we give this 360-degree view of that client.
So really impressive. As a venture investor, I've now seen 2 companies that are profitable, which I think are more than I've seen in my entire career. So really well done. You talked, I think, briefly about the amount you've raised to date. Can you talk about the raise you're undertaking and what you'd like to actually do with that capital?
Yeah, so we're raising a Series A, looking to raise $4 to $6 million. And right now, the major goal is to release our platform. So right now, Ventana is creating everything. We're making it DIY. So the 350 ad agencies we work with today can create their own mixed reality experiences. We're also becoming display agnostic as well. So we're looking to hire more engineers to expedite all of that. We also just hired our first salesperson this week, which is really exciting. No one was paying for the word hologram on Google, by the way, this fall. So we started paying for it, and now we're getting 15 leads a day, which is really exciting. But we need to hire those account managers and salespeople to manage that. So really, it's kind of putting fuel on the fire.
Right now, what's the split of your business for holograms versus AR?
Yeah, so majority of our business is holograms. In 2017, about 65% of our revenue was hardware, the rest software. Software's continued to grow over time. So the cruise line, for example, who did the year software license deal, they have one hologram, but they're also using the same software on other types of displays.
And do you think 5 or 10 years out, what part will the holograms play in your business? If you were to guess?
It'll be low. So, I can't wait for light field technology to be here, like true Princess Leia. And our software is still going to help create content and interactive experiences with that. Today we are the best and most cost-effective way to do holographic projections. And so that'll continue for, the next 10 years or so. But we're so excited to be display agnostic. Cool. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Nancy Curtis of WaterSeer.
Founding partner of WaterSeer. It's morning. You wake up for your morning routine, perhaps to the smell of coffee, the sound of children. You go to turn on your shower, you turn on the tap for a hot shower, and there's no water. Nothing there. You start making phone calls, you watch the news, and you find out that your neighbor, that used to be your friend, is closer to the source, and they've used up all the water for their swimming pool. Now, as unbelievable as this sounds, this is exactly the situation of farmers and ranchers in San Antonio and in Cape Town. Increased demand, diminishing supply has cut off their water and destroyed their livelihood. Imagine that these farmers and ranchers could control their water to nourish their cattle and their crops. That California could have water abundance during times of drought. Or that women in Africa no longer needed to walk 6 hours to fetch water. Well, you don't have to imagine it. Imagine all of these populations could have water no matter where they were, and it was enough water to fill Niagara Falls 250 years. Well, you don't have to imagine it because WaterSeer takes water right from the air and provides it right to people right where they live. So how does it work? WaterSeer channels air. It's designed to work outside. It channels air into a chamber where it cools that air and collects condensation. Each water delivers up to 10 gallons a day of pure water. And when it's collected into grids, it can deliver hundreds of thousands of gallons of water to people right where they live, right from the atmosphere all around them. It's smart enough to know how to maximize the water and minimize the power usage, which allows it to work off-grid and on-grid, using less power than a 150-watt light bulb. WaterSeer collects geolocated climate, soil, and water data 24/7. That is aggregated into the cloud, and when that's mapped into a visualization application, it allows us to see, the data scientists to have better data to know exactly what's happening with the climate's heartbeat and making better decisions about our environment. So you can count on us for these numbers. Basically, but if everybody had the water authority and the water assurance that they needed to control their destiny, they would have, this market is of the largest size. We sell B2B to distributors who sell to farmers, ranchers, and individuals. And we have, our business model is transactional and recurring. We have raised $337,000 in crowdfunding, and we have another $150,000 in pre-sales. Every time we sell a WaterSeer, we provide a % of the profits to nonprofits so that they can provide water security to people worldwide. We have a phenomenal cross-functional team. We have worked in we've run companies large and small, and we have added over $3 billion to the bottom line over the course of our careers. So everybody, everywhere, is using up more water than can be replenished. Nobody has, our planet is actually using water faster than it's being replenished, and nobody has control over their water destiny. I know it seems hard to believe. We buy water, bottled water and everything, but we actually are using water faster than it's being replenished. If we are honored to win this award, we will apply the money directly to communities and individuals that need water so that they can enrich their lives in ways that they cannot even imagine today. Please join us on this incredible journey to provide water security to people worldwide.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the business model. So, you mentioned ranchers, et cetera. If that's your typical customer, how many are these buying? How much does it cost? What does it cost you?
Right. So we sell to distributors. We have the demand in 77 countries and 16 distributors, and they sell into the United States, India, Latin America, and Africa. So our primary customer is the distributors, so we're B2B to them. And they sell to the end users, to the ranchers. And here's a great example. In San Antonio, we were just down there, they have an enormous water problem. And so they basically will put grids together. So they're going to do water grids of 200 units so that they'll do basically 2 acre-feet of water a year is what they're looking to collect. And so they will grid them together, and they're a customer of our distributor. Does that answer your question?
Not really. I wanted some actual numbers. But,
okay.
So maybe you can answer a little bit better on exactly what this sells for and what your profit margins are. And then also, quick follow-up is there any negative effect of like stripping all the water out of the air?
Oh,
do people not notice?
That's such a great question. So, we hear that all the time. So basically, I'm going to start with your last question, which is taking water out of the air. It's replenished all the time. As we take water out, it's constantly replenished in the water cycle. In fact, it's going to make the planet will actually have more water, be more humidity. But that's going to take generations. We have to be everywhere in order for that to happen. So that's a great question. Ask us all the time. It's constantly replenished. It's never depleted. And your first part of the question is, how much do we sell it for? We sell it for $1,300. And when our nonprofits then augment that into developing an emerging economy so that is diffused or it's financed over time. Did I answer
like
it?
How many,
Did I get it this
if
time?
It's $1,300 for like one of those.
Yes.
And then like how many are you selling to the average, farm? Because you're selling these.
They'll do 200 is what their average is in Texas. Somebody else might have something different. The reason it's that way in Texas is they're only allowed to take 2 acre-feet of water out of the ground because they're using up too much groundwater. And so because of development, they are basically depleting their supply. So they're basically adding that into their supply of what they're able to have control over. It's not regulated by the government, not yet anyway.
Now, what about the environment in terms of there's only so much humidity or water in the air? In the deserts, do your systems work where there's essentially no humidity?
That's a great question. It really depends on where the air is. Like it's in semi-arid areas it works extremely well. 80% of the population in the world actually lives in water-rich zones. So in the deep, deep desert, we will do more research to pull that out, but there's still humidity, there's water in the air, and we could pull that out. It just might take a little bit more energy to get that, but we can definitely do that. It's semi-arid areas like what a great area for us is La Guajira is one of our projects. It is a semi-desert area. It gets less than 12 inches of water a year, but it has very, very humid area. It's in Colombia, the normal part, and it is a wonderful opportunity for us to provide water here to those people. It will be very rich in building what is a wonderful 21st century farming miracle for them. It's a great question.
What's the process to install one of these? How long does it take? How much does that cost?
They do require some kind of an auger to install them because they do go into the ground. They go into the ground about 8 feet, and so because we're trying to get enough chamber that we can actually do the condensation and get the ground differentiator. So it costs about, in the United States, it's about $100 per unit to install it. Or you can do a grid, and it's probably a little bit less than that, but it's somewhere in that price range. In emerging economies, those will be manual augers, and they'll just grind them out and put them in. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can we get one more big round of applause, please, for all of our startups? can we get one more round of applause that's a little bit louder for all of those amazing women-led startups? Thank you so much. So now is the time that the judges are going to head to the back of the room in Google and actually deliberate and take some time to discuss the amazing pitches that were just presented on stage right now. And during that time, I hope that you will all visit bit.ly/WWT2018. That's WWT 2018, and vote for your favorite startup because we will have an Audience Choice Award. So if everyone will stick around, we'll have some music playing. People can just kind of mingle for a second, and then we'll let you know when to kind of get quiet, and we'll be ready, and the judges will announce the winner of $50,000. So during this time, please feel free to continue tweeting. We were trending, like I said, on Twitter in New York City with hashtag Women's Startup Challenge. So that was awesome. Thank you, everybody. You did a great job. And then in the meantime, just talk to your neighbor, get to know somebody, and thanks again.